Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. We are here with another Learning Live, and as we really start heading into the holiday season, we thought that we would share some ideas on our favorite things. Every one of us on the team has different things that are our favorite things to have in our craft room. And we thought we would share that all with you. So Kris is taking the lead tonight. And she is not only going to share her favorite thing, which is some Totally Tiffany products, the ScrapMaster, the Collection Keeper, and the Slide Stash and Store, but I bet I could put money on the fact that she's going to share some great organizing tips as she goes along. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let Kris take over, and you can spend the next half hour or so learning about Kris's favorite things. All on you, Kris.
Thanks, Sherry. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. I am, as Sherry said, going to show you a couple of storage items that I cannot live without. They're the only reason I can find things in my scrap room. The first one that I'm going to start with is the ScrapMaster. It's the biggest storage unit for 12 by 12 things and parts of things. What I use the ScrapMaster for, and I'm just going to take the papers out of the center here, is for my scraps, surprisingly enough. So I have all of my scraps in a ScrapMaster by color, and that seems to work best for me. Everybody has their own sort of way things work for them, but color is my jam, and I organize by color. Whoops. I just about knocked one of my ScrapMasters over. So basically, a ScrapMaster is a 12 by 12 storage pocket file. So there's a lot of things that this actually does. So the unit itself has a large pocket on the outsides of both sides. So on the outside of both sides, you can see the large pocket. And then on the inside, it has an angled pocket. Again, for large items, if you want. In my case, I put anything over 2 inches wide, but under, that 6-inch width goes in there and also in here. But I've divided it between patterns and plain. And then 2 other pockets for those odd little shaped pieces. I know some of you don't keep things this small, but I do. And it holds these things nicely. Now, a couple of the cool features about this ScrapMaster is that the pockets are beveled. So you can keep packing it up till it's about 1 inch thick, and your flap will still stay closed because you have 2 separate, there we go. You have 2 separate flat places to put your flap in. So if you put it in the first one, it gives you more space, and it actually is wide enough to cover that inch plus. And if you put it in the first flap, in my case right now, I don't have the girth that I have in a lot of my other colors, and so it is still keeping my paper nice and tight in there because I'm using the farthest away little flap. It does the same for all the pockets on all 3 of them. And as I said, in this particular use, I am using it for plain paper on this side, pattern paper on this side, plain paper in this large 12 by 12, pattern paper in this large 12 by 12, and then I have it mixed up in these 2 pockets. So that's one way that you can store it. You can just deal with colors, but there's 100 other things and ways to use these to organize your different items. So most people will keep their pocket with the tab showing. Every one of them. Oh, I should tell you a little bit more about the setup. So each pocket, you get 5 pockets in a package. Each pocket has a tab, so that you have your tabs all the way down the front side of the ScrapMaster. So the most people keep them standing on a shelf or tucked in a calyx unit or something, so that that tab is coming out like that, which is fine. But if you want to add 12 by 12 paper here, and you're too full in the front and back pockets to make that addition, this actually will allow you about 21 papers, 20 to 21, well, maybe 22 papers, because it actually has a bit of a spine here. I don't know if I can show that to you. You've got about a ½ an inch between the front and the back panel. And this is way more than 21 papers, but you know, I like to push the boundaries on everything. So I just stick my purple papers in between. So I have not only my scraps there, but I have my full sheets of purple pattern paper. My cardstock I can't fit in here because it's, you know, maybe 3 inches thick. So it would not fit in here, but my pattern paper 12 by 12 does. And so my cardstock is on a shelf in the same color order, but on a shelf on its own in a different one of these. So you can get a lot of stuff in there. Look how fat that guy is. So you can use it as a file folder. So if you have one of those bins that you like to have your file folders in, it will function with your paper in as a file folder. It will also function on your shelf so that you can see that tab on your shelf. And I will show you how I organize these in just a moment. But I wanted to move on to the next. Oh, I was giving you ideas of what you can use this for. Okay, so you can use this by storing color as a paper color organizer. And it's heftier plastic than a plastic bag. So it keeps everything flat. And as you can see, I can even stand it on its own. So it's nice and stable. So your paper doesn't get all wobbly. And you can lay it flat this way if you like, but you know, with easy access, lying everything flat like this and just stacking on top of it is not the easiest way to get to things. It's much easier to get to things by pulling them out of a shelf vertically. It can be used, as I said, as a file folder. You can include your 12 by 12 papers. You can use it for themes. So imagine this as Halloween. You can use it as projects. So you had a trip. You can imagine this as your trip. Perhaps you do your scrapbooking chronologically. So these could be months of the year, or it could just be a year of your materials and your paraphernalia and your photos and whatever for a year, for you to be able to store it until you can get to it to do the actual work. Now, the ScrapMaster actually comes in 3 sizes. And I'm not sure that everybody knows that because I only found that out today. So the ScrapMaster sets that we have at the store right now are a set of 5 12 by 12 for $36.99. We also have an 8.5 by 11 set. Same configuration. You've got pockets on the inside, 2 pockets on the outside, and a larger pocket on the inner inside. And it comes in a set of 3, and that's $23.99. And there is also, I don't know how I would use it, but I bet you I could find a way. There is also a 6 by 6 set. I don't know how many are in it. I don't know how much it costs, but if that is something of interest to you, please let Sherry know and she'll investigate it further for you. But I didn't even realize that there were all of these different sizes in the ScrapMaster. So that makes it even more of a great organizing tool because I have 8.5 by 11 papers that I need to put somewhere. And I also have 6 by 6 papers and scraps of those papers that I need to organize. So I actually can see now that I need to get some 6 by 6 and 8.5 by 11. Anyway, note to self. So that is our scrap master, and I just want to make sure I've given you as many ideas as I can. Yeah, some
I
people. Oh,
I think you're right, Kris. I think a 6 by 6 would be ideal for those who primarily use 6 by 6 paper packs, especially our card makers.
yeah,
And like you showed in one of your other folders that you were showing, it'd be great for storing like embellishments
yeah,
and die cuts and that kind of and borders, that kind of thing.
yeah,
So a
yes.
size for everyone.
There is something in this brand of materials or brand of organizers that will fit um, everybody's needs. I'm sure of it. All right, so this is a collection keeper, and a collection keeper is like a scrap master with two very big differences. First of all, it's only one side of the master, so it has the pockets and it has the outer big folder. And the second big difference is the outer 12 by 12 pocket has a cover on it. So everything has a cover on it. This is a really good item for taking on the road with you. I have mine. So you saw my purple paper holder. I also have used the collection as my purple whatnots folder. I can't think of anything else to say. It also has the little tabs, just like the larger ScrapMaster version. I just put this here because I often um, will work through an entire color and I'll change this, or sometimes I decide I don't want to keep things like this in colored, like in colored organization, and I might want to change that to travel one day. So I haven't got anything stuck to that. Mind you, if you stick a label on that, you just take it off and put a new label on. But this is what I had at the time, I guess. I've been using these for quite a while, so I don't even remember um, why I have sticky notes. I probably lost the little um, labels that are in the package. So don't do what I do, do what I say. Be very careful with those labels. So this is basically the same item, but it's all in one. And what I've done is I've put my large alphas in the back because I know my paper is elsewhere. I don't put paper in here. Um, and again, it has the pockets on the front. This particular version is a little bit thinner than the scrap um, master version. And so you've only, and you're limited to, if you're going to use the little flap where you connect the flap into the plastic to keep it all sturdy and so things won't fall out, it does limit a little bit how much space you have in there to collect things. So you want to make sure when you're using this that you're using it for a project perhaps, or in my case, just the few elements I have in this color line, or a specific theme that maybe, like a Halloween theme versus in my case, a Christmas theme, because Christmas is this big, Halloween is like that. So, in doing themes, you can also hold things by designer. I was looking into this and I thought there's got to be other things that people do. And it didn't occur to me, but some people store a designer's complete, whatever they have. Gina K, they store her templates and her, maybe not her dies, but other things she carries all in the one container. So they know where all the Gina K stuff is in their collection, which is a brilliant idea as well. In my case, I use it for storage for in color organization to go with my purple one, and the purple cardstock that I have, so it all kind of hangs together. And then I also have particular themes. In this case, this is a theme which is supposed to be travel, and for the most part it is, but this is my sort of random travel-y thing. So like letters that look like they might work well on a letter, a travel page, some ephemera that I got for travel, and kind of just things that relate to travel rather than absolute travel things, like specifically for Italy or whatever. However, I would definitely use one of these to store my Italy stuff once I get to collecting that to make those pages for my album. So these two, these are both the same thing, but the ScrapMaster and the Collection Keeper work really well together for storing different kinds of things. Now, you can just keep these on your shelf. There's no problem just keeping them on your shelf. Oh, I should let you know that these ScrapMasters come in a package of 3, and they hold up to 10 sheets of paper. So
Collection Keepers.
Sorry? Oh,
Collection
Collection
Keepers.
Keeper. Sorry, I said the wrong name. Collection Keeper is the smaller one, not the ScrapMaster. Comes in a pack of 3, holds up to 10 pieces of scrapbook paper. Now, depending on the thickness of your paper, so if we're talking about heavyweight cardstock like 49 and market version, I don't think you could get 10 in. I have not tried it. By all means, do try it. But I think it's relating the 10 sheets to your standard collection pack, like your Echo Park or your Photoplay, or even I would even go as far as saying is Cartabella and Simple Stories. But when you're getting into that heavy paper or heavy mixed media paper, this might be a bit tight with 10 pages in the back of it. But try it out and see what works for you. And again, as I said, if you don't have to have everything all in one container, use the system of having your ScrapMaster for all the heavy and lots of pieces, and then just your embellishments and whatnots and letters for your color. And then, you know, again, the idea of using these pockets for themed things. So that, again, sorry, was a pack of 3. The Collection Keeper is a pack of 3 for $13.99. Now, the way I keep these all together, so you can imagine having these on a shelf, and when you pull one out, what usually happens? They all kind of just slide into the next one. So I have been using the Slide Stash and Store, and they are perfect for keeping my packages standing up. Let me just get everything in the right direction so the tabs are out. And the thing I like about them is that my tabs are easy to read in my Slide Stash and Store. Now, I haven't got this Slide Stash and Store full because I also put cardstock in there, and I have another one of the Slide Stash and Store with my purple cardstocks in it. So there, I have a little more cardstock than it will fit in one, and it usually takes up the extra space in this one. So you're not seeing that right now. So I put my cardstock in here, and there's 2 ways I use this. I can, when I take it away to a crop or something, I will just stand it on my table and go through it and pull out of it. When it's on my shelf at home, to make it easier so that things slide in and out this way, I turn it on its side. So for at a crop, in order to get into it, I have it up and down so things don't fall out or fall over. But in my drawer, or sorry, in my my shelving, I actually have it. Oops, let me get it in there. On its side. So then I have super easy access. I don't have to worry about that side of this interfering with my pulling stuff in and out of my shelving at home. So that does dual purpose for me, and it makes it a great thing to be able to just pick up and go with. So the slide stash and store comes in a pack of 3 for all of the sizes. This is a size 2, no, a size 4, and it measures 2.5 inches wide. They all have different measurements, so it goes from number 1 to 6. And then there is a collection kit where you have one of everything. So the price range on those are between $12.49 for the size 1, moving up to $38.99 for the set of 6 individual pieces. And in each separate size that you can buy separately, you get 3 in a pack. So for instance, size 1 for $12.49 actually gives you 3 size 1s. And then there's size 2, size 3, size 4, which I have here, and size 5 and 6. So if you want to try it out, I would suggest going for the set of 6, which is one of each. I have gravitated to this number 4 because it just seems to work best for me, but I would not know that if I hadn't had the other options to play with. So now that I've figured out which one works best for me and fits my cabinetry best, I am going to take Sherry's advice. I'm going to write number 4 on the bottom of my container so that if I'm ever needing to buy more of them, I can just look at the bottom of my container to find out what the size is. So what do I use the slide stash and store for that isn't paper? I use it for pretty much everything. And this is why I like this size. So in my craft room, I often will be burning candles. So I have candles, I have a lighter, I have a second row of candles down here. So 2 rows of candle boxes fit there. I have my beeswax for encaustic things, you know, kind of a mamby-pamby of stuff. Look what fits in this. This is my glimmer. My glimmer fits perfectly in the size 4. Whoops, I lost something there. And so I can now store this because it's been awkward to store when I stand it on the shelf on its own because it's beveled and it kind of drops down at the edges. It always falls over, but now I don't have it falling over. So that's awesome. And then I have all of my sprays. So my Krylon spray, my stick and spray, my pixie spray, my craft bond, my acrylic clear coat, all of those guys sit in here. And I can move the whole container at once. And I don't have to, you know, be grabbing 7 or 8 off the shelf. It's all here together. So that I really like. As far as, so, I mean, these are some of the uses that I use them for, and I'm sure there's plenty of other uses you could think of for these. Like think about your kitchen cupboards. Think about your under the kitchen sink. Think about your garage. Think about your basement. I mean, there are so many places where you have things you're constantly moving out of the way or that are difficult to pull and get off the shelf because there's no way to pull it forward. You have to lift things up. And when I was listening to Totally Tiffany, I think it might have been a year ago now, she made a very good point. She said that a lot of storage units have that V shape. So the lid is here and they kind of go in a V shape. So whenever you're stacking them side by side, there's like a little triangle of space that isn't being used. And I am surprised how much more I can get into my craft room with these boxes that have straight sides. It makes a difference. Like I gained a full inch per box on my shelf. So that I gained 3 inches on one shelf just by having the boxes that go straight up and down instead of on an angle. And that was like a key learning point for me. The other thing that's great about this is when you stuff things like my glimmer, for instance, I can put everything in there. Like I can put in my instruction booklet, anything that came in the box can literally fit in there. And and that's what I need because I don't use my glimmer every day. And when I go to get my glimmer, I don't want to have to go rooting through, a box full of instruction pamphlets to find the one that goes with um, my machines that I'm using and keeping things organized with. I want to be able to pull the instructions right out of here. And I'm noticing that I don't have them in here, so that's bad. I don't know where they went now. But the idea is you just keep it all here. You don't do as I say, or do as I do as I say, right? So you keep it all there. And things like when you have your mink and stuff, make sure that all your paraphernalia go together in a container of some sort, either one of these crafting collection keepers or your ScrapMaster, or even this where you're going to keep the bulkier things. You can just keep also your pieces that you would use, the sheets, the toner sheets in there as well. Like keep everything that you're using with that tool as close together as you can, so that you actually do use that tool and everything is there and you don't have to find things. You can even store buddy bags in here. I don't have that. I haven't done that in my particular craft room, but I saw it online, and you can just store the tall, long buddy bags in here. So, buddy bags are great for pulling out and going off to a crop, but they're not so great when you're storing them in your shelves because they still are stacking up, right? So if you have everything going vertically, you save more space.
That's my plan for my embellishments. I've got little buddy bags with like my gems and rhinestones and that kind of thing, but they just tumble all over the counter. So I've got some larger slide stash and store to keep them all together so that they don't get lost.
Yeah. And what about those big things? Like I work with, I've got a 12 by 12 gel plate and a whole bunch of other gel plates of differing sizes. When I put those in a shelf and I'm trying to pull one out and I pull all of them out, when things get stuck on each other, or I pull one out and then all the other ones fall to the side. And then, I'm fussing to get it back in. I've got them in my favorite number 4 slide stash and store, and so I just pull out the slide stash and store, lift out the one I want, and push the thing back in. I can't tell you how much more pleasant it is when you don't have to fight to get your stuff out, and that everything when you do pull it out is nice and flat and straight. Like my papers used to be in bad shape. They would all get warped. But using these systems has really made a difference to keeping my paper flat as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got a comment from Margaret saying that she uses Slide Stash and Store number 5 for her cardstock and her sorted projects. So even if you don't have it in a Slide Stash and Store or a collection keeper, absolutely you can store your cardstock right in the Slide Stash and Store.
Yeah.
Joan is asking, what about something to hold dies? I have them on magnets. So I can give my answer, but I'll let you go first, Kris.
Okay, so depending on the magnet, I think the magnet is the key here. If you have a very sturdy magnet, you could totally store them in here, or in any of these bags. The thing that I would be concerned about would be how thick the magnet with the die is, because once the die is on there, if it's too thick and you get them pressing, these plastic pages pressing up against each other, they could cut into each other. However, I just thought of an idea that might help with that, and that is to turn the dies inward so that you have the image of the die on the outside of the magnet and then the die on the inside, so it's not going to cut through. And you could just put a little piece of cardboard in there. But again, I think thickness is going to be really important to note with the collection keeper, especially because it's the thinnest product. And I think that the ScrapMaster could handle some, but I think that your magnets would probably have to be sturdy, especially if you're going to something like this, because this holds things that have shape and form very nicely. But I don't think if you have a magnet that's going to warp under, unless this is absolutely stock full, I still think you'll get the warping under if you only have a few dies in here. So if this is full and the dies are slotted in and supported on both sides, you'll be fine. But otherwise, I think this might not be your best choice. Sherry?
Yes, I will just chime in. So I do use, for some of my larger dies or my larger sets, and Joan, I know you like your Elizabeth Craft, so this would apply to that. I use the large 8.5 by 11 lawn fawn magnets, which are definitely on the sturdiest backer cards that are out there. And then I lie them sideways, so they're running landscape orientation in a slide stash and store. Now, you can't get too many in there. I mean, obviously it depends on which one, but mostly because it'll get heavy. So as you pull it off the shelf, it could get too heavy for that slide stash and store. But definitely it's a great place to store them on their side and keep your dies together. So I've got my Concord and Ninth together, and I've got my Spellbinders together. And for me, the Lawn Fawn interactive ones are together on those very large magnet sheets. So that's one starting point. Joan, we can have a separate conversation, or maybe this will be another learning live in the future, specifically on stamp and die storage. It's one of those unicorn solutions that everybody has something a little bit different depending on their space. So we'll go into that in more detail in a future live.
Yeah, and like I said, we've given you ideas of ways you can use it, but that doesn't mean you can't go out there and look up these actual containers on the internet and find out the many, many, many other things people have done with it. I can imagine using these not even being a crafter, to keep my office organized and my own home paperwork organized. I can see using these in my kitchen, so I think it has no real boundaries. I think it's just up to your imagination, the different things that you can put inside here.
I think the one story I remember most from one of the videos that Tiffany did for us was the story of using the slide stash and store under your sink for your household cleaners, your dish soap, your scrubbies, and all of that kind of thing. And I know that I have given some slide stash to store for my son when he's in his apartment away from home. So it helps keep, his stuff organized separate from his roommate's stuff, for example. So definitely applications well beyond the crafting world. So think outside the box, and where you might not think that this is a good craft or a good gift item for someone who's not a crafter. Think again. Think about what things they have to store.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have to say. It does, getting the system started takes a moment, but once you've got it started, it's so simple to keep up.
And I think that the advice that I would also add in, and I mean, you suggested it with the slide stash and store, don't go all in and buy 20 packs. As much as I would love to sell you 20 packs of ScrapMasters, I would start with one and see if the system is going to work for you first. Once you have it worked out, then by all means, we're happy to get you more slide stash and store, more scrap masters, more collection keepers, so that you can truly dig in and organize in a successful and effective way.
Awesome.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you've gotten at least one little organizing idea and something that you can apply to your craft room, and maybe put some of these goodies on your wish list. Thank you so much for joining us for our favorite things at PCW, and we will be celebrating favorite things throughout the month of November and probably into December as well. So we will see you next Tuesday night. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.